Linda, thank you for coming down. Linda is from Belfast and Portland, Maine. And thank you for the work. I mean, I just want to briefly say how extraordinary things are going in Nashville. By what I mean, the arts here have really escalated over the last 5 years to a point where we now have artists like Linden coming down, which is no small thing. I mean, when you think about 5 years in this town, it just didn't exist. It's where do you go see art? We didn't know where to go see art. And now we can come to places like, Haynes Galleries and just see NCYS and Linden Fredericks and Jesus Villarreal. I mean, this is, it's pretty impressive stuff. Thanks to, to Gary for really elevating, I think, the scene in Nashville and bringing what I consider to be world-class work. And I think this sort of stands on the shoulders of what was here before. I think it's, when I came in yesterday and to have a look at the work, and I think Gary would back me up here, and I was not, being disingenuous in any way. I came and said, oh, wow. Now, I had seen it in print. We had printed it in the magazine, but when you stand before it, Linden, and actually see it this size, it really takes on another life, And I love the small work, and I love the studies. You can see the studies over here, guys, the studies of the work. But talk to us a little bit about, how this happens. Does it happen because you saw this and took a photograph? Is it a memory of something you saw? How do you bring that to the canvas?
Well, I have a couple of different methods and ways of working in terms of actually getting images. One is I either have an idea and I better go find it. The other way is if I have a theme show, which is what this piece is all about. This was part of a show called Memoir, where it was a body of work all about where I live. And this is in Belfast, Maine, as is this piece. So these are in the same series. And that's another way. The third way is I just see it. And I go, oh, I know it when I see it.
Physically just see it?
Yeah,
This is
it. Slam on the brakes. I may, take a snapshot. It may be a kind of day. But it's the idea has been born in my head. I see it. It's complete. I'll add and subtract, but I'll go to the site and I will make notes and drawings, take some snapshots. And people often ask me, do you use photographs? Well, in fact, I do just for the kind of informational part of this. And the reason they're detailed with accuracy is because I have a kind of a permanent record. And when you look at most of these in the time of day, the practical aspect of sitting here and painting this, even a sketch, in 10 minutes, this was
the light is
totally dark and black, and it was awful. So that is a factor in photography. And what I'll often do is I will go back in the middle of the day where I can get as much information as possible. And when I say information, I mean, the number of clapboards or the sort of proportions of things. What certain cars that you just have to get that concrete information. And part of the appeal is that there is kind of accuracy. But that said, when I get to the point of painting, I work on studies. When I get something that feels like that, then I say, this is the mood I want to get in the vision. So I'm kind of relaxed, I just work with this one.
So the photograph gives you the sort of the structural information, but of course does not supply any of the mood, or the intimacy, or the light. Untold Stories, I mean, this really, when I look at the work, and I came earlier, there's one around the corner that we're going to look at in a minute, which I love. But there's really a story going on with the work. I mean, it almost has a voyeuristic quality to it. It's almost like I'm standing out here, I haven't actually been invited to go indoors, but I'm standing out here looking in, what's going on with this? What are these people doing in here? Yeah. Is that a purposeful intent?
Absolutely, and I actually want the viewer to be part of the scene and to kind of bring their own story to whatever's going on. And a couple of openings this week, I've had people come up to me and say, oh, this reminds me of something, and I get this certain kind of feeling, is this such and such? And I always have a joke. People say, well, where is this? And I say, well, where would you like it to be? And so there's funny, but it's part of the truth of that. I want it to be part of your experience. And that's where, the viewer comes into it.
Well, and I think they work on that level because, when you're standing, much more so than when you look at the study. When you look at the study, it looks like a nice painting. But when you look at the physical size of this, there's a kind of drawing into it where you just kind of almost feel like you are looking through your car window. You're actually in this parking lot, and you have become a part of this work.
And part of the art of it, with the capital or quotation marks, is I'm trying to convey a feeling which is harder than it seems, and I think that's just instinctive, and I trust my instincts, and that's why you're getting the feeling, because I trusted my instincts, and I'm getting the same feeling or something similar.
There's a slight sort of melancholy to all of this work, a slight sort of feeling of loneliness, a little bit of detachment. Is that the world you live in, or is that just the world you've created?
I think that's my personality, that I'm melancholic, that I just appreciate kind of a quiet, contemplative feeling I get at this time of year, something like this.
And I think you'll agree it works. When you look at this, there is a wonderful sort of peacefulness to it. When you look at it, let's go on to this one over here. I think this is mine. I think Gary is going to wrap this one up and let me take it home with me later on, but maybe not. He did that. This again is a street. Come on through this way, guys. Come a little closer so we can all look at the painting. Come on down. I think when we look at this street, part of it is, and what I love about your work, is the nostalgia of it. There's a certain nostalgia. I feel like I might have walked down this street at some point in my life. I think I might have actually seen this house. I know I haven't.
Where would you like it to be?
But where would I like it to be? Well, this sort of looks like parts of England, looks like parts of Maine, I imagine. But there is a quality that I think you've kind of brought into this. I love the way that there's nothing going on up here, up in the sky. My whole focus is on this little street, the lives that are going on behind those windows, all these stories that are going on. Again, a very purposeful intent, I think.
Well, there's a couple of fun stories about this painting. This is Bayside, which is near where I live. And Bayside was a Methodist revival camp, where in the 19th century they started building these cottages. I think this may have been one of the original farmhouses. And then these cottages, it's right on Penobscot Bay in Ocean. And so it has a lot of history. But this was a case of, I just saw it. We were talking about what inspires and where you get the ideas. My friends and I, we were on a night bike ride. We all had lights, we were all sitting together. And we happened to go by this street up here in this small village. And I looked down and this is what I saw. So I said, okay, I gotta come back. So I came back and I did a whole series of reference. But what really attracted me, the first thing, the first initial innate attraction was this pocket of light from the street light and how it illuminated the fronts of these houses. And then I thought how cool it is that these are all different kind of styles, which to me represented all kinds of different types of people.
And the personalities of the people that live within them.
The personality want this sort of Victorian gingerbread as opposed to somebody who wants this very modern, just, this is very stark. So, and they were just cheek to jowl and just smashed in. I just thought that was quite interesting. But it does represent the people's lives that live inside.
Can I tell you a little bit of what I love about it?
Sure.
Is this line of lights over here. There's something about that line of lights that makes me think there's hope over there. There's good life going on, there's excitement over it. But you know what I'm saying? It feels like, within this sort of, the quiet nostalgia of this, there is activity, there's, people over there. Let me ask you about the fact that there are no people in any of these paintings. It would be so easy to put a young child walking down here, or a bicyclist, or somebody walking into the... No people in any of these paintings. They're just locations. But there's no people.
Well, that is intentional. I always felt that once a figure, a person, is in the painting, then that painting becomes about that person. Okay, what is that person's story? Well, you take that person out and it becomes the viewer's story.
Right.
And to me, that's just much more interesting. A lot of writers and film people collect my things, And I think it's because I am setting kind of a set for a story. So this could easily be a set for a play.
Well, it could, and I have a long background in film. I'm a filmmaker by past profession, but they could almost be like storyboards to the next part of the story in a script, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So, let's go over to this one over here, and you know, it's you know, the trailer park. You know, come on down, guys. Don't be shy. There's a painted by, I promise. Linden might, but I don't. But you know, this whole notion of the trailer park is somewhat unromantic place, I guess, you know, considering this and, you know, nothing. But so what drew you to this and this particular, I mean, I love this kind of, but what drew you to these particular trailers?
It's the same thing that drew me to these. It's about the people that live here. And the first thing that came to mind with this is like the circling of the wagons, you know, in the Old West.
Oh, okay.
And I just thought, well, this is, they're modest, but these is where people live.
Yeah.
And then I think they're so modest, but I decided to make this very dramatic sky, sunset, and it's that fall in Maine.
Sure.
So it's a modest place to live, but a very dramatic setting.
Well, it really is. And I mean, do you ever sort of go out of your way to meet the people that occupy the...
No, I actually avoid that.
You avoid them. You don't want that to ruin the experience. You don't want a shotgun coming out.
Well, I did. One time I pulled my van into this field, and I was just painting the field, and this farmer came up and said, "Do you help me pay my taxes?" I go, "No, but so what are you doing in my field?" So anyway, he was all mad, and then he said, "Well, what are you doing?" So he looks like, "Oh," he said, "that's pretty good." Where are you going to show that thing? So it was from that confrontational thing to, "Oh, that's for me."
Yeah, right. Well, you know, I guess people are always drawn to paint. But you don't have a background in film or in, you know, anything like that. These are just, you're creating these, but you weren't on set anywhere, like...
No, I've done some theater.
Oh, you've done theater,
but just for local things,
right.
but which is fun. But no, I just kind of like the idea of it, and it's instinctive.
So a piece like this, let's say from the moment that you sort of see it and you start working on it, is this like a start to finish process, or do you work on it a little bit and then go work on something else?
Well, that's an interesting question, because oil painting is something that has to dry.
And these are all oil on
linen.
On linen, okay.
So there's varying colors take a longer time to dry than others, and these are all about layer.
Yeah.
You cannot paint something like that group of trees in one sitting. That takes layer on layer on layer, letting them dry, doing a little glazing and bringing something more out. But that is very complex in process. So I have to let it dry, so I'm not just going to sit there and
So you move on to something else.
So I've kind of developed a working method where usually I have 3 paintings of the same kind of feeling or the same kind of show, the same size, and I just kind of rotate them. I have a different feeling, then I'll work in study for a little bit, and a few days later I'll pull this out, or I'll just get it to like the first study. Each one of these big paintings looked like that at some point, because I paint the whole thing in black and white or monochromatic, so that has to dry. So I'll get that done, and then I'll start the drawing for the next one. And so there's a process, but I do.
I'm always intrigued by that creative process. Like, you know, like here in Nashville, lots of songwriters, they'll start a song, and then a few days later they go back to finish it, and they have to try and, you know, bring up that same feeling of what they were feeling when they first, you know, those first nugget of ideas came to them. Is that the same for a painting? I mean, once you start this and you come back to it, are you then sort of recreating in your mind what you felt like when you saw it?
That's a very good question, because yesterday my nephew is a musician, and he was recording a song yesterday. They had done all the music tracks, and we're in a really great studio. So he's in the recording booth doing the lyrics. So he's singing, and it's just amazing, the process, where you think you just sing the song. Well, it's a little bit here, a little bit there, and then he started to get warmed up. I could hear his voice just warming up, and it became much more instinctive, and there's a physical aspect to it, but there's an emotional aspect to it too. So there's a little bit of the same thing. There's a lot of kind of repetition and just slogging work, but there are moments where it's just pure pleasure, like say, yeah, I've just got to trust my instincts. Put that piece of paint right there.
Let me ask you, on this particular painting, and just as a layman, I want to know, what was the most challenging thing about this painting? When you're talking about layering and putting on, building colour up, and what is the most challenging part? What was the big thing? Is this going to work or isn't it?
Well, the most challenging part was the sky because it's a pure invention.
Which part?
The whole sky.
This whole thing up here?
That's pure invention. I didn't see a sky like that when I saw this scene.
Right.
So I had to pretty much make this up. But the interesting thing about this particular painting, and all of my paintings, I painted with what's called a triad, which I only take 3 colors. It's like chords and music and all kinds of things. So you take the key of C,
right,
and it has 3 major notes in that.
Right.
I do the same thing with painting, and it's based on kind of the same sort of mathematical formula. For example, in this painting I used a yellow-orange, which is basically that color.
This color right through here?
Yeah. That's as one base color. The second base color was viridian, which is green, which is true green, which is basically that. And the third color is violet, pure violet. So you think that's blue, but I had no blue on my palette. That color I got from mixing violet and green. So it's the bluest thing, and it will appear blue. So I have no red, so that is the reddest thing. That is yellow and violet. So all of these neutrals come from all the colors you see there come from those 3. So I have something to kind of work with and to, make it harmonious. It has a harmony, but it just is almost built in when I blend the colors.
Yeah. Before we move to that, is there any questions for them before we move into that?
No white?
No white?
Oh, white.
Okay, all right.
Not a colour.
Yeah.
It's an emotion.
All right.
Yeah, well,
Why do you do that?
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to get a job to buy another 3 tubes of paint. A very simple reason, because of everything becomes related. You are reacting to these subconsciously because there is a certain kind of harmony. By harmony, I mean, when you go to play a song on the piano, you don't hit every one of the notes. You pick a key and you hit notes that are within that key. Not all the black keys, not all the white keys, but the ones that, and then you have a harmony with a song. I do the same thing with color. And the mathematics of it are very similar. There's an innate harmony between certain products. And I shift it, move it, and change it, depending on what painting it requires.
So why not yellow, red, and blue?
Because then I have all the keys on the piano. You see? So okay, but when I limit it, then
You're just twisting.
if I have to work that hard to get this blue, that blue is going to be very blue. But if I have a big tube of bright blue, that's not going to be as harmonious with all of these grays and neutrals.
please go ahead.
Do you have a palette that you come back to most of the time?
This is probably my most favorite palette because I paint this time of day a lot, and that is. But I do work on other palettes. The one around the corner, which we'll talk about, seasonal, that's a rather bizarre palette. And there's a reason why we can talk about that.
We'll head that way in a minute.
Can we go back then to the VFW and ask what palette you chose for?
I think that's the same palette.
That's what I was, okay.
Yeah. So the sky, there's grays, blues, but it's all the neutrals that are related.
Before we move into the other room, I just want to say what a treat it is. And I think of all the people I've ever interviewed live, I think that description that you just said, that there are only certain notes that are going to produce this effect that you want. Even though you might have all of them at your disposal, you're not going to play all of them. I'm going to remember that for the rest of my life, and thank you for saying
But
that.
I'll add one thing.
Yeah.
You as a musician understand how important discord is too.
Of course, yeah.
If you're going along with this wonderful key and then you use a discordant note, it wakes people up. And I use that same thing. Sometimes if it'll be a car or something in there, I'll hit it with bright red taillights or something that is discordant and not in the palette really hits.
Right.
But it's a small, kind of like a jewel.
And it builds that tension. There's the tension
Right.
and then
Tension
the
when you
release.
see something.
Tension and release. We're going to wrap up soon, but I want to go around here and show you my favourite painting of the whole, if you don't mind. Come on in, guys. Oh, by the way, Ethan Stevens is here somewhere. Is he still with us? Annie, is Ethan Stevens still here?
No.
Oh, he left. Well, it's a shame, Ethan Stevens, wonderful work. songwriter, I think wrote Driving My Life Away, just a bunch of hits, but he loved the work pictures. This is my favorite painting, I think, in the whole gallery right now. I don't know why, it just, I think it's extraordinary for a lot of reasons. The biggest reason for me is that there seems to be no barrier to entry in this painting. I can enter this painting like this. I've been there before, I know this, I can smell the ocean, I've seen the moon do that, listened on before, I know exactly what this building smells like. I don't know that because that's not me. But this
is England.
Oh, is that it? Is that England? Looks like
Cyprus.
Cyprus, yeah. But this I know, and I love it for that quality alone. Regardless of how great a painting it is that you're mastering the painting, the fact that I can instantly walk in here and I can just feel like I can whoa into this is, I think, a rare gift that you have brought to this. Talk a little bit about this, where it is, and what was happening that night when you saw this.
Well, first I'm going to just kind of follow up that this is the painting I was talking about. It's a bit of a bizarre palette. I can't actually remember it, but I think this is what's called a split complement. And I knew I needed, have you ever seen the streetlights that are kind of greenish looking? Mm-hmm. And they have a certain colored light. So I needed that, but that's what I saw in this pattern. So I needed that, and then I thought, well, I'll contrast that with this red trim, and there is a blue in this color. So the colors are heightened a bit compared to some of the other things which are a little more muted, and I was looking for that. That said, the other thing that attracted me to this painting or this scene was the fact that the porch and the building that is off camera, so to speak, is casting this shadow on this building, which I just found this as an abstract pattern, as design, just kind of compelling and interesting to look at. I love that feeling of shadow into light. Then I love the concept of the seasonal cottage. But I said, this needs something more. So then I said, I'm going to put a cottage back here, and there's going to be kind of a communication, and that gives this a bit of mystery because...
So it wasn't really there, this cottage?
I can't really remember, but I think I may have...
Added it.
There was some other cottage.
Gotcha.
But I put it there to be a sort of foil for what's going on here, which this could be unoccupied, that we haven't home yet. Maybe it's really off-season. That may be where the caretaker lives. I just wanted to ask these questions. That sense of human presence, and then with the moon on this side, creating this sort of natural light. I just thought that was kind of interesting. A little bit of tension, but also just visually interesting. Now, last night, there was a guy here, he said he just wanted this painting because it reminded him that perhaps he was 17 and out in the middle of the night doing something he shouldn't be.
You hope it's a cigarette.
Yeah, right. But he just wanted to be in the shadow,
right.
Just even the kind of thrill to be there. So that's the kind of feeling I want to convey.
Well, and I think what separates great paintings from just good paintings is that they do make you create your own dialogue. And you just did it. You came back, is there somebody living there? Is it empty? Is there a caretaker? Is it you went through 25 different sort of scenarios in your head, all around this one simple little image. I absolutely love and adore this painting. I think it's fabulous and well done.
Well, we can wrap that one and the other one up together.
Listen, let's just turn our attention to this one over here, and let's not forget this, because this too is, and I'm sorry for playing havoc with the camera people, but this too is, when you think about it, this works so brilliantly because it's dusk, the light is falling. If this was daytime, and this was bright and sunny, and the grass was all kind of, it would not be anywhere near as interesting as it is right now. Because right now, it feels like the hunters have hunted and they're going home, they've found their meat for the night, all that tribal stuff, the sun's going down, we look for shelter, that's how it makes me feel. I mean, how does it make you feel?
Well, the same, and that's why I choose this time of day, the dusk evening. It just gives me, it's not creepy, but it's there's a certain tension and apprehension, and we're drawn to that, but at the same time, repelled slightly, but then we're drawn to it. And you're absolutely right that during the day, this wouldn't be half as
It
interesting.
wouldn't work, yeah.
But I also play on the idea of lights coming on where people live, because that's, we drive home from work and start seeing things coming on, I wonder who was there,
Sure.
and I came with you home, and there's a certain kind of
Anticipation, really, as well.
Is what's that?
There's an anticipation of what the evening is going to bring
Exactly.
as these lights come
So,
on.
as I'm here, and I was here, it was quite light, and I just watched the evening fall, and then I saw that, yeah, there's a really interesting pattern. You talked about pattern in the other picture, and this was particularly interesting. It kind of looks like I drew every plant, but in fact, it's just building up plant-like things, and I think the colors, different types of plants. But this isn't as detailed as it looks. It's really, there's a skill at building this up to sort of paint, but an interesting visual thing. And incidentally, I was born right there.
Is that right?
And so was Kirk Douglas.
And where is he today?
Yeah, what kind of day?
Just, well, it's been an absolute pleasure. So any other questions for Linda from there? Yes, please. Yeah.
I noticed you're gravitating towards square canvases and placing your composition in that. Is there a reason? Or?
That's probably the least reasonable thing I do. I just want to for some reason. And I just love the square. I'm not designing the square. It's about breaking up the space. I think it works really well with the type of work I do. Sometimes it's center buildings, and it has a solidity which I like. But besides that, it's pretty irrational. I just like it.
Right.
And I'm allowed to do that.
Kathy Detweiler, another fabulous painter. Yes, Kathy.
I just would like to say that your command of dusk and nighttime is astonishing. It is so difficult to do if you had it completely.
Well, it's like, how do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Talk
Yes,
about values, because you're in that real narrow range of
Well,
values.
everybody knows what values are. It's either white or black and somewhere in between. So as Gary indicated, my range in those values is very, very close. So not only do I have to come up with that value range, and I often do black and white studies, as the first one indicated, to get me familiar with that. But then I have to translate that into color. So yes, it is tricky, because I have to understand very well what the difference in value is between that and that, or all the range. Look how this group of trees right here is a certain value. It's quite dark, and that acts as a plane. But everything in this valley, on the other side of the valley, is a higher value, and that's why that looks like it's so far away, because the values are close, and this acts. Look at the difference between that, and that green together. But I have to be very careful in my mixing, both in color and in value, to make sure this is in very close range. If you took a black and white photo of this would stay very close in value.
Great question.
That's intentional.
So all of these paintings seem like you're 10 minutes away from darkness or night or whatever, except for this one, and they all have to me a kind of a Hitchcock set feel. And this one sort of still does too, a Hitchcock set feel.
Stephen Tango's one.
Yeah, no, really, no doubt that. Except for this little carnival painting.
Well, that one and the other on the other side of this wall, there's some daylight images, which we haven't really talked about. But I did a cross-country bicycle trip, and I did kind of a series I called American Studies. And I wasn't biking at night, so I got some of my information during the day. And I did them for fun and for just kind of getting into things. And like the pheasant, if you look at that, I got into that. It was just, it was maybe a little bit of a break for me, or a little bit of I'm going to discover some other things and sort of revisiting the daylight. But I really loved it. So.
Anything else? Yes.
So you take a very academic approach to color and to all the formal aspects of your painting. Did you learn how to paint in school? Did you have a teacher that you were trained from?
Well, two things I'll address there. One is art schools and music schools, and we'll use the music analogy, sort of diverged 100 years ago. And for the musician, you still have to learn structure. And nowadays, you don't go to Juilliard, they don't put you in a room and say, do whatever you want to do, there's a piano, just make noise, and we're going to, you're going to build a career out of that. No, you have to learn scales, you have to learn music theory, you have to learn structure, and you have to practice. Unfortunately, in art schools, it's putting you in a room and basically telling you, do whatever you want, it's going to be valid. So, what I learned in the 70s when I was in art school was what I really wanted to learn. I did get some of it, and a piece of it here and there, but it was after school that I said, okay, I'm just going to dig in. And it took me about 15 years. So that's...
And what about influences? I mean, I think you
Yeah,
related to
that was
that.
my next
What
question.
about influence? Who are the artists that you looked at and said, I love their values, I love their tone?
I made a kind of a conscious effort to not really care too much about that. I do admire other painters. I love Sargent and sort of the turn of the century because of their mastery and the music. But I really like people. Like there's a couple of contemporary people. But I don't really study them too much because I think it keeps me a little fresher if I'm just doing my own type of work.
Was Zorn an influence because he painted with three colors? Did you gravitate towards?
Who was that?
Andrew Zorn.
Oh, I just saw the Zorn show in Boston.
Oh, did you?
Well, he, like Sargent, was just a master of control and understanding. But I always think that if you understand the process in a more structural way, then it frees you to be, to express himself in artistically. But to be able to use those tools to make something. And if you don't have the tools, then you're limited in how you can make something.
Gotcha. And talking of tools, I will let you know that Linden is also an accomplished cello maker. Makes his own cellos and plays the cellos, and also makes classical guitars. Anything else before we let Linden go? I would tell you this has felt like a master class for me. And thank you, Gary, for setting this up. I think the opportunity, and I know there's a lot of artists in the room, and he gets us over there, fabulous artists. I think the opportunity for us to hear firsthand from someone like yourself, to stand and say, this is why I did this, I think is so important, so valuable, and I thank you for doing that. My pleasure. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions about a specific piece?
This too is three colors?
Yes. Yep. Yes, I think that was the split complement I was talking about. I'm trying to remember the conversation.
Okay, but obviously there was some external light source.
Yeah, the external light source was.